Tennessee's fresh off a bye week, and we're going to get right into what some would call a glorified scrimmage. And that's no hate to New Mexico State. It just is what it is. Um, just kind of getting into this game off the bye week, man. You got anything that you really want to point out in this game that's going to? I mean, I know it's not some big game. It's not really a game that is easy to get excited for,
Right.
especially how the season's kind of went with off of that loss to Oklahoma. But
Yeah.
we got to get right back to it, man. So coming into this game, anything that you want to see or what you'd like to discuss with it?
I think the biggest thing, and it's probably the most obvious thing, is just how does Tennessee respond after taking the loss to Oklahoma? How do you come out and, I mean, you can't turn the season around realistically, but you can still build on potentially next year
Yeah,
and really just keep the team that's here and the team that's going to be together next year together, so to speak. And it's really that for me, man. It's really just how they come out after, you know, basically taking themselves out of the college football playoff this season. That was the goal, I
yeah,
think, at the beginning of the season. And it's really just how do they respond? How does the defense look? Does Joey continue to struggle? He's to this point in the season, he's got 8 interceptions. Does he continue to kind of look kind of like his older version of his older self and what everyone thought he was going to be? Can he turn that around? Can we get the running game back up and running and fired up? This is and it's going to be hard to judge. Based on what you said, kind of a glorified scrimmage. It's going to be hard to judge. Did Tennessee get better, or is this just an inferior opponent that we were going to beat, regardless of how bad or good we were this season? So, yeah, that's it for me. It's just kind of how do they respond?
yeah, absolutely, man. And I kind of look at this game. Obviously, this game isn't going to be like you said, it's not going to be able to really tell, because it should be a game, man. There's no reason, and you have no business not having this game over with by halftime. And that's just is what it is. And I think Tennessee's offense, the running game, the passing game, they're just gonna absolutely outmatch New Mexico State. And I think we'll be able to kind of do what we want at will, and we'll come out quick. You know how Tennessee does a lot of times, and that's kind of what I expect in this game. But some of the things I'd like to see in this game is I do want this game to be over with. You know, like I said, that first quarter be up 21-28 to nothing, something like that, and then like by halftime this game being over. And I would actually like to see some players get to go in.
Yeah,
Outside the starters. I know we leave them in sometimes a long time, but even in games, we were talking about that earlier in games that we tend to blow teams out in, we do have our starters in quite a bit of time. So I would like to see, a good mix there. And this is random, but I would like to see George McIntyre um, play some. And
yeah,
and the reason is just in case we don't know that Joey's going to be back next year. There's a lot of things I've kind of seen. It kind of seems like he might not be. I don't,
right.
or if he's even able to play another year. So there's that, and you kind of got to think in your head, um, especially a game like this. It's nice to after a bye week to ease back into the finishing the season up. But this game's kind of a game I'm going to be looking forward more towards next year because we
Yep.
got a lot of young players. We got a lot of even on our starters, we got a lot of young players. But because I think that Jake Merklinger, I've read some things and seen some things. I don't think he'll be at Tennessee next year.
Yeah.
Um, and so, if I know we have the recruit coming in, but as a freshman, sometimes I know it is hard to start. I kind of want to see what George McIntyre
Yep.
is going to do, and because he's not got to play very much this year,
Right.
um, so that's just a key focus for me on that. And kind of to add something about New Mexico State and why I'm stating that this game should not be a close game. Other than the conference USA they're in, um, they're also 3-6 on the season right now. They're 1-5 in conference play.
Mm.
Um, they're 0-4 in away games. So
Right.
you can't. I mean, there's no way this game should be close. Being an away game in Knoxville against a caliber of a team that Tennessee is.
Yeah.
when I say that, even if this was New Mexico State playing Kentucky, I would think the same thing. You know what I mean? It just
Right,
shouldn't be.
right.
That's just a different level. That's a whole nother level. I will say the positive I will throw to New Mexico State is they were 3-2 so far at home this year. So their home games they've done pretty well.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, overall just they're not even it's not really a good team that you're playing in their conferences. You know, it's not like a team that's maybe even though their conference is weak, but they're sitting there at 7-2 or 8-1 or something. This is a weak team in their own conference. Um, and so it is what it is on that. I mean, I think we're looking at a practice. That just happens to be a game
yeah.
when it comes to the game.
Yeah, I agree, man. An inferior opponent. I mean, that's basically the only thing that you can say that this team is. It does kind of fit the theme of this season. Tennessee kind of not really playing that tough of a schedule.
Yeah,
Now, obviously, this is a little bit different than playing a struggling SEC opponent that hasn't had a good season. But ultimately, it's games like this that kind of makes me kind of go back to what I might have mentioned in a couple episodes ago was just the whole situation where is Tennessee battle tested? Has Tennessee been battle tested and overcome? We know that they've been in some battles this season, but they haven't overcome any of those battles that they found themselves in. And that's really been the disappointing thing about this season. But aside from that, yeah, man, I mean, this game should be an absolute obliteration. I mean, Vegas says that we're like a 39.5 point favorite. Uh, None of I don't even think any of the sports betting apps will allow you to even bet the money line in this game.
yeah,
Just because it's one of
yeah.
those games that's just so,
It's not
ESPN,
happening.
yeah, ESPN has a matchup predictor on their website, and they're giving Tennessee a 99% chance to win. And I think they do that just because they won't ever put a 100, just because there is always a chance. But um, yeah, man, I'm like you though. Going back to things you want to see in this game, I agree that it's going to be so important for Tennessee to get some of those young players in, and I'm talking about guys that um, don't see the field often. We do start young players, like you said, but I want to see
Yeah,
some of the guys that don't get in the games very often get in the games early and often. It seems like Josh Heupel is so notorious, man, for just sticking with the same starters for the course of almost the entire game. And that doesn't really bid well for your up and comers. It doesn't give them any in game experience. I think some of the games that we won handedly, even against quote unquote tougher opponents, um, some of the backup quarterbacks should have been in those games, man. They
yeah,
should have been in those games because there's probably a very, very, very high chance, if not 100% chance that Joey Aguilar is not going to be here next year. So
yeah,
whoever you're going to go with is going to have some sort of experience, whether it be a quarter of play, a half of play, an entire
right,
game. They can practice all day long and learn the playbook and learn all that stuff. But dude, unless they get in some of these games and feel that true game pace and atmosphere, and they're just not going to be ready, and it's going to show. If I mean, why do you think Josh Heupel went to the? I mean, he went to the portal because Nico left. I understand that, but there was no one behind Nico that was good enough for the job to begin with,
yeah,
and you would almost be better off if Joey Aguilar leaves. If you're looking for a tested quarterback that has experience, you would almost be better off going to the portal again for another quarterback. I mean,
yeah.
you've got to get these guys some reps. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. And outside of that, man, I really don't think there's a lot more to much say about this game. Again, this was
Not
not a
really.
hate or a brag at all. This is not hating against New Mexico State or anything. It's just being honest about what this game is.
Yep.
Um, but this weekend, I will say, man, there's some great games still this weekend, though.
Oh
I
yeah.
know we don't really have a large opponent, but there are some. I think we got four different ranked games and some
Hmm.
notable games that we're going to talk about as well. Um, I'll save the game of the week on this one for towards the end. We do have a game of the week this like we normally do, and this one is a big one, man. It's a very good game. But we'll go ahead and get into some of our notable games.
Hmm.
I'm going to start it off with another big game, man. That I think me and you would have argued might have been the in the second place there for the fourth and whatever podcast game of the week, and that's going to be number 11 Oklahoma at number 4
Yep.
Bama.
Yep.
So Oklahoma's going to Bama. Um, do you have it? I'll let you start, Adam. You got any thoughts on this game? Predictions, anything like that?
Yeah. We all know the fire that Alabama has caught since the opening season loss to
Mhm.
Florida State. I mean, looking back on that loss, I think you have to chalk it up as a fluke. At the time of the loss, the way the game looked and the way the game played out, it didn't look like a fluke, but Florida State has proven since then that it most likely was a fluke.
Yeah,
Bama's looked good, man. I mean, they're unbeaten since that. They're 6-0 in the SEC. They're probably highly favored. I haven't looked at anything, but I'm sure they're highly favored to go to the SEC championship game. Um, maybe even win it. I actually saw some preseason stuff before the season even started that a lot of people actually predicted Bama to win the whole thing, and that is
yeah,
definitely not out of the realm of possibility.
yeah.
Uh, we've talked about them and we've actually praised them, unfortunately, so far this season, and just how impressive that turnaround's been. There was chatter at the beginning of the season, fired DeBoer, all that good stuff. We've talked about that a lot. But they've turned things around and they look very impressive. The biggest thing in this game for me is Oklahoma is playing to stay alive in the playoff race.
Mhm.
Sitting at 7-2, they're ranked number 11 in the college football playoff ranking. Um, 7-2. Everyone says two losses should get you in if you're coming out of the SEC, most likely. So Alabama or Oklahoma is going to be playing to stay alive in the playoff hunt, and if that doesn't give a team motivation, I don't know what does. They are on the road against a very hot Alabama team. I mean, Ty Simpson's looking like an absolute madman. uh, Super impressive. 21 touchdowns on the season, one interception all season long. I mean,
Yeah.
taking care of the ball, slinging the ball around, just shy of 2,500 passing yards. I mean, the kid has really surprised me because he looked like a deer in the
Mhm.
headlights week one. Um, and then on the other side of that, of course, we all know the story with John Mateer and how he got injured and how he ain't really looked the same since. So it's going to be interesting to see how this game plays out. Obviously, Bama's the favorite, being at home and just being Bama and having the season they've had so far. But
Yeah.
the biggest takeaway for me in this one is just Oklahoma playing to stay alive for that potential playoff spot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Oklahoma will. I mean, and you got um, or I think that they definitely are playing for a potential playoff spot and it starts right here because they can't take another loss. Um, and I do think they're going to show some fight, but I'll just kind of get right into it, and I think Bama takes this game. I'm going to stick with the favorites on it. I think they're going to be the favorites for a reason in this one.
Mhm.
One of the main things that sticks out is Oklahoma, like you said, John Mateer's not been the same since the injury. Um, and they kind of let I know they got the win against Tennessee, but I think we both would agree a lot of the reason they got the win there was some Tennessee coming up with some turnovers and some mistakes that they made and coming up short on scoring on some drives that they shouldn't have. Bama doesn't make as many mistakes, um, and that's and looking at and that's one factor, and then also Tennessee's defense actually giving Oklahoma kind of a hard time, not that it was a great defensive performance, but we don't have a great defense overall as far as the secondary goes. And honestly, Mateer did not throw a ton of yards.
No.
They've definitely struggled in that first half against Tennessee.
Yep.
They're just going to be facing, and I hate to say this as a Tennessee fan, but they're going to be facing a better team, um, and they're going to be at Bama, another road game for them. And I just don't think Oklahoma's got the firepower this year. Um, to be able to take on Bama. And college football is wild. Like you can't say anything for 100%, but my prediction is for Bama to win this game.
Yep.
Um, and I'm not saying it's gonna be a complete blowout, but I think like a 10 point, 14 point top solid win, to where you never question it too much on it.
Yeah.
I'm not like I said, I'm not calling this big dominating performance, but I don't think there's going to be a question throughout most of the game that Bama's going to win or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. Piggybacking off what you said, I think that there's not going to be a question of who's the better team during the
Yeah,
whole game. And something that's really notable is what's been most impressive about all these games that Bama's won, now 8 straight, is just how they've come away in games where it could have easily went the other way. I mean, they have won some very tight games this season, and I think that just shows a lot of resilience, and really good football teams, championship caliber football teams, find ways to win in games
yeah,
where maybe you shouldn't have won, or maybe you know everything was stacked against you at key moments in the game, and you still grinded it out and found a way to win. So I
yeah.
think with all that being said, I think it's going to be a little too much for Oklahoma, and you're really hard pressed to find a team with no flaws, but I think Oklahoma's flaws are, I guess you could say, much more prominent than Bama's flaws for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So with that being said, I'm taking Bama in this one as well.
Yeah, 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 definitely picked up on that, and I think that was something I figured we probably would both agree on
Yeah.
this game.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, So again, we have several ranked games this week. Moving on to the
Mhm.
next notable game, we've got number 9 Notre Dame at number 22 Pitt. And let
Yep.
me for something I meant to say earlier in the episode. When we are giving out these rankings, we are now going by the college football playoff rankings
Yep.
over the AP poll. So, and that is actually, if you look it up on Google, anything like that, you'll see that's the rankings now.
Yep.
I feel like it's appropriate for us to start using that
Yep.
because college football playoffs are coming up, and that's what's most important on the season. So we're going to use that. But back to the game there, number 9 Notre Dame at number 22 Pitt. Um,
Mhm.
this one's interesting, man. I think being at Pitt, that's going to make it interesting. And I've always said Pitt is a team that can kind of show up and ruin your season.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
with their record, what they are right now, they have a lot to play for. Correct me if I'm wrong, but are they 7-2 right now?
Yep. They're
Um,
7-2.
yeah,
They're actually first, believe it or not, in the ACC. So they're looking like,
yeah,
they're looking pretty good there as well.
yeah. And I mean, I think that makes I think Pitt can be a dangerous team at times. And
Uh-huh.
Notre Dame at number 9, I mean, they win out, they're in the playoffs, but they lose this game, they're out. Three loss team. I have to believe they're out. Um, and Pitt's playing in a conference, man, that I think we both have kind of talked about this, that we agree that the ACC team to come out and make the playoffs this year and win the ACC is probably not going to be a top 12 team. Right now, none of them are in the top 12, I don't believe, with the
Nope.
ACC. And so, it's kind of wide open there. But this is a big moment for Pitt because if they were to win out, they're a two-loss team and they're going to the playoffs, and with that, if they win their conference and everything. So, interesting game. I'll let you. Obviously, I kind of went first on this one, so I'll just kind of go ahead and make my prediction for this game. Um, I think I'm going to take Notre Dame. I think reason I'm going to, I want it. A lot of me wants to take Pitt because I know they're dangerous and it's at home.
No
But I
doubt.
also think Notre Dame kind of has their back against the wall, even though they're number 9,
Yep.
realizing they can't lose. They're playing for a playoff spot too.
Right.
And Notre Dame, man, seems to find their way around there. You know what I mean, even when you think they're out, and so I think Notre Dame is still going to win this one in a tight football game here. I don't expect them to blow them out by any means. I think this is going to be a tight fought game, and Notre Dame's going to come out slightly on top.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game, and kind of looking at both teams. Um, if you if you look at the prestige, I guess you could say, of both of these programs, I mean, I don't think I don't think it's a question of who's going to have the better playmakers, who's going to have the most 5 stars or 4 stars or just great players in general. I mean, Notre Dame is going to have the better team, I would think, as far as players, recruiting. They're always high up on the recruiting lists every year. So they're going to have the playmakers. They're going to have the dudes out there on the field. But also looking at both teams' schedules here, Pittsburgh has not had a very good season at all. I mean, they've had a good season, but they haven't really played very many people or
Mhm.
really any good teams. Um, one of, I guess, at the time when they beat Florida State was ranked number 25, but Florida State's
Yeah.
hasn't been ranked probably since then. So that's their only at the time ranked win. So they really haven't been battle tested that much. I wouldn't think. The rest of Pittsburgh's schedule is the toughest part because they've got Notre Dame, and they've got number 16 at the time right now, Georgia Tech, and then they finished the season with Miami. So their 3 toughest opponents are actually ahead of them still. So that's kind of a scary thought. And we always talk about how Notre Dame's not in a conference and all that good stuff, but they have played some teams at least. They played
Yeah.
Miami, they played Texas A&M, they played Arkansas, they played Boise, they played USC. I mean, they are more battle tested, I think you could say.
Mhm.
Um, and you're right, man. They're playing with their back against the wall. They're playing for that playoff spot, man. And this is if they take this loss, it's over. It's over for them. And the
Yeah.
rest of their schedule looks favorable. They've got Syracuse and then Stanford. So if you can take care of business against Pittsburgh, um, then maybe most likely you're in. Most likely you're in.
Yeah.
So and then that'll just be another notch in their belt for a ranked win as well. I mean,
Yeah.
so at first I was going to kind of drop a bombshell on you and say that Pittsburgh was going to win this game. But the more I think about it and the more I look into it and the more I really compare the two teams, I'm definitely going to have to go Notre Dame with this one as well.
Yep. And yeah, and that was one I could see, predicting an upset, but
Yep.
yeah, I think just like really deep down thinking about it, I just think I don't know. I just think they're gonna pull it out. Another ranked game that we got that's going to be an important game as well. We got number 21 Iowa at number 17 USC.
Yep.
USC is a team that we talked about being sneaky. I believe they're a 7-2 team and a one loss in their
Hmm.
conference. So USC is definitely a team that's kind of sitting there without you even realizing that, hey, they might have a chance depending on how things
Yeah.
go. Um, and I don't know a ton about both these teams. I've seen USC a little bit throughout, but I think USC, man, the way they've been doing this year, to kind of being that sneaky team. I'll just get
Yep.
right to it, man. I think USC is going to win this game um, against Iowa.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree, man. I mean, they're kind of getting, even though they took a loss to Notre Dame a few weeks ago, I think the way that they're starting to play and actually, you know, compared to seasons past, like last season, season before, it just seems like they were just a constant disappointment, even though they might have been highly thought of at the beginning of every college football season. It seems like this season there's still hope and they're still playing for something, whereas
Hmm.
in the years past to this point in the season, it was already over. So I definitely think that they're heading in the right direction. Will they be a playoff team? Who knows? I mean, everyone obviously can't get in, but they're 7-2. They're in the Big Ten. That conference holds some weight now. And Iowa, I mean, they played a tough. They played really, really, really tough against Oregon, and I texted you and I was like, I think Oregon's going to go down. I think Oregon's going to go down.
Yeah.
And they just showed grit and resilience. So I mean, this is going to be a very tough game. I think. I really don't know which way to go. I guess if I had to pick one, just the fact that USC is still kind of competing and they have that motivational factor of trying to make the playoffs. Um, I think USC in this one as well, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with it could definitely go either way. I think it's gonna be a interesting game for sure. Before we get into our game of the week, there was one more game that I wanted to, I know you had wanted to mention too, with
Yeah,
NC State and Miami playing. Another one
yeah,
of those ACC teams that right now fighting for a spot, man, because one of them's going to be a conference champion and get in.
yeah.
Um, so is this game? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'll let you get started on this one. Is this game at Miami
Yes, yes. It's a
with
3:30
NC State?
game at
Okay.
Miami. Yes. Yeah, and you're right, man. This is another situation where, obviously Miami is playing for the playoffs. They're playing to try to make it to that ACC championship game. They're sitting at two losses here. And depending on how, and this is why the ACC's become so interesting because it's so tight, right? I mean, you've got so many teams. Let me look at it here. In the conference right now, you've got one, two, three, four. You've got five teams with one conference loss. And then after that, you've got two teams with two conference losses. So Miami is actually one of those teams with two conference losses. So as it stands right now, if the teams above them keep winning, I mean, out of the five teams that have one loss in the conference, you would think that one of them is going to just remain with at least one or two of them are going to just
Yeah.
finish the season with one conference loss. So Miami may actually already be on the outside looking in, if you want to know the truth. I mean, just looking at how things are playing out. And this NC State team is a very, very sneaky team that you cannot take lightly. Georgia Tech went in. When what was that game last week, or was it the week before? I can't remember. I think it was last week. Yep.
I
So
think I
Georgia
think
Tech,
so. So many
yeah,
games, but
yeah, Georgia Tech last week against NC State went into that game undefeated in the nation, undefeated in the conference. And what did they do? They took a L to NC State. Um, so I mean, that right there just goes to show you the type of team that Miami's up against. So many people picked Miami to come out of the ACC and make it to the college football playoff. Made a case to be the number one team in the nation. Heck, even we on this podcast at one point in time this season claimed that Miami might look like the best team in the nation. Um, and a lot of times when you do what we do, you got to eat your words, right? But I think in this one, I'm just gonna say that NC State goes to Miami and just erases any hopes or dreams of Miami making the playoffs or even sniffing the ACC championship. They're going to give Miami their third conference loss, which will totally remove them from being in the ACC championship game. And I'm making that bold prediction right now.
all right. I like it, man. I like it. Yeah, it's interesting and definitely something to think about with NC State just beating Georgia Tech. Is this a random fluke or are they going to continue that momentum a little bit?
Right.
Um, Definitely a game that Miami's not going to be able to overlook. It's a tough one, man, because I think I've seen a little bit of things about, um, with Carson Beck and a comment maybe he made about, can't remember exact quotes. I'm not going to even quote and misquote anything, but it just makes you wonder if there's like some tension in the locker room and stuff, in between coaches and the player. And um, Miami's a team that's got talent, man. I mean, like you said, there was a
They
point in
do.
time in the season where we saying this would be the best team. Carson Beck was winning games, but then he's also shown he can turn around and throw four picks in a game too. So um, I think for me, it's going to be which Carson Beck is going to show up,
Hmm.
and how's that going to affect the team there? Because it's going to kind of fall on his shoulders a lot with that. I mean, obviously it does on a quarterback, but especially in this case, just to see how that flow is going to go. Because there's some weapons on that team, offensive weapons for sure.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, it's interesting, and I like the upset pick here. I think that is a good pick for sure, man. I really do. I can see it going either way. I'm going to say though that Miami nudges it out. We'll pick different on this one.
Gotcha.
And being at home, um,
True.
this is by no means predicting that Miami's going to go on and make it to the playoffs or anything like that. I just think in this game they'll find a way to win it. Um, and we'll see how that goes because I'm not confident on that answer to be honest.
Yep.
It's just because they're ranked with their rank doesn't make me confident. Them what 15 in the college football playoff, I believe,
Hmm.
ranking. So it doesn't make me confident in it at all. But I do think that they'll nudge one out here against NC State, and that maybe that game maybe that was NC State's big moment, big upset moment against Georgia Tech, if that makes sense. You know, some of
Yep.
those teams will have that moment, and then it's
Right.
um, about the only moment that they really have with it. So that's kind of what I'm predicting into this one. Um, so we'll definitely see. But I do like the upset pick though.
Yep.
So definitely not knocking your pick at all on that. And I could definitely see that happening. Um, but yeah,
Before
some
we
good.
uh before we
Yeah, go
get
ahead.
in, yeah, I was just gonna say before we get into the game of the week, I'm gonna step right over here and fix my lot, and I'll be right back. My
Go right ahead.
apologies.
No, you're fine. I thought honestly, you just kept going right through, man. I heard the sound there, and I was like, oh yeah, and you could see the light drop, and I was like, something definitely fell. Hey, that
Yep.
happens. So anybody watching
Hey,
that definitely happens.
that
So
that's what happens when you're recording a podcast and your cat comes in and knocks your light over. So
dude, I was this close. I was this close to actually asking you, was it the cat? Because that was my first thought. Because everybody, you know how cats would be walking around on tables and knocking stuff
dude,
over, and it's like they
they'll knock.
intentionally do
They
it.
do. I really think they do, man. They'll do anything. Like they're crazy, especially
You ever
that
see
one.
them? You ever see them sitting there getting close and they just start like nudging stuff and you're just sitting there like
I
knocking that
watched it
over and then
happen
that
on the.
right
I
off the
watched it
side.
happen with my light, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. So I figured that I'm glad to know that's what happened. I almost asked you about it if that was if that was the cat. So
Dude, I was
yeah,
itching to go over there and fix it, man. But I fought
yeah.
through. I powered through.
You got it, man. Um, So, like you said before this, I think everybody knows we're going to talk about the game of the week, fourth and whatever podcast game of the week, man. Lots of big games this weekend. We just felt like this was the biggest one, and I think it does,
Massive.
man. I think it has some true implications on the playoffs and kind of how that's going to end up. But we got number 10 Texas at number 5 Georgia. Um, and with Georgia, technically Georgia could they're a one loss team right now. They could take a loss, a one
Yep.
loss team against Bama that too. So I mean there's no good or bad losses, but in the
Yep.
terms of say it was a good loss against Bama, um, they could technically lose one. Texas cannot lose one.
Yep.
Well, and to get knocked out if they do with two losses. I'll let you go, man. This one, man. I know this is a big game. What are your thoughts on this game and how you think this game's going to go?
Yeah. To me, it doesn't get any bigger than this one. This weekend. I'm not sure where College Game Day is, but I would hope that they're going to this game, man, because this is big time. As far as college football playoff implications on the line and things of that nature, yeah, I mean, number 10 Texas at 7-2. I would think that taking that third loss, ever since the 12-team playoff got introduced, it was always a three-loss team can't get in, a three-loss team can't get in. And, it's hard to make a case for a three-loss team, regardless of how they lost or who they lost to or who they are. Because when you've got X amount of teams that are sitting at one or no losses, I mean, it's really hard to make that case or two
Yeah.
losses. So, but yeah, I think we said it in the last episode. We might have been saying it for a few weeks now. Texas seems to be getting hot at the right time. Struggled early in the season. Even we on this podcast sort of wrote them off early in the season. We were going as far as to call Arch Manning a bust and all that stuff earlier this season on the pod. And that might not have been fair or whatever, but we got to kind of stand on our ground in those moments, and that's exactly what we did. But things have seemed to start to kind of turn around for this Texas team. Seems like they're trying to. It looks like they're just finding their identity, finding out who they are. It doesn't always look pretty. It doesn't. They're not always coming out and just absolutely obliterating teams. I mean, they went to overtime with Kentucky for God's sakes. I mean, uh, that kind of feels like a loss, honestly, you know, regardless if you come out with the win or not. Um, but you know, Georgia's kind of looked the same as well. I mean, struggled with teams, won tight games. You know, neither one of these teams have been what I would consider absolutely dominant by any means. They've looked very pedestrian all season, and their records could be a whole lot worse than they are right now. Um, but in this one, I mean, I feel like the chips are stacked maybe a little bit too high for Texas. Going on the road against Georgia at night, you know, Gunnar Stockton started to look really good. You know, Georgia's quarterback there. They've got 5-star playmakers all over the field. I mean, I know Texas does too, but there's something about playing at home under those lights. I mean, it's different. Uh, Georgia Georgia's probably tired of hearing about other teams being the top dogs in the SEC. I mean, because Georgia has been that top dog in the SEC, and I feel like they've got a lot to prove, and I feel like they've got a lot to defend. Um, I just think ultimately, if you don't mind, I'll just go ahead and tell you my prediction on this one. I just think Kirby Smart is. I just think Kirby Smart's a better coach than Sarkisian at Texas. And I think in situations like this, in big time games, in moments like this, his experience and just who he is as a coach and who they are as a program is going to kind of take them over the edge in this one. And I'm definitely taking Georgia, man.
Yeah, smart pick, man. I mean, it is. A lot of reasons that, like you said, stacks up against Texas in this one. Something I want to add about Arch Manning. You know, we did kind of write him off earlier in the year, saying potential bust and stuff,
Yeah,
and it was looking that way, man. It was, and I'm not saying he's coming out looking like a Heisman right now, but he has come out and played some football, and he's
yep,
playing some good football. And but I want to say that I am glad he's playing good football. I was
yeah,
someone who wanted Arch to do well before the season started. I will say that, like I mean, I think that's why we talked so highly of Texas too, and I
we
think we
did.
had confidence in him. Um, and he's kind of got a little bit of his confidence and swagger back. You know, he lost it at one point, and
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
big
there was a
time.
point this season he definitely lost it, and they have their moments. Like you know, they've got the overtime win against Kentucky that they barely won. They lost to Florida. Um, you know, so they've had those. You know, you can't really knock them so much on losing to Ohio State. That was a close game, 14-7. Arch didn't play well that game, but Ohio State's a great defense and great team. So, you know, their other loss is the number one team in the nation. So it's a season of up and downs because you
Yep.
look at some complete opposite things. But then they turn around and they beat Oklahoma, who's number 11 in the nation. You know, and it
Uh-huh.
wasn't a close game. Like you know, it wasn't an absolute blowout, but it wasn't anything close. So, and then you got Georgia, who you know, they did handle business against Mississippi State, and um, you know, had a close game with Bama, and that loss there, which is fitting that it was close because they've had so many close games this year. But
Yep.
they do seem to pull most of those out. You know, and being a one-loss team at Georgia and at night, it's definitely a tough task.
Right.
Um, and it's hard to make a confident decision in these type of games because
True.
you know you do have some you know anytime you're ranked got a top 10 matchup and it's kind of hard but I'm actually going to make a take here and say that Texas is going to come in with an upset and I think Texas is going to sneak one out barely in a close game of course never take the Georgia cover in the over but in a close game and I think Texas might shock Georgia. Bit of a rivalry, maybe some from that last year, Georgia beating them twice. Maybe well,
Yeah.
you know, looking at this game a little extra this year. That's one of the reasons I think we wanted to put this as game of the week too. I mean,
Oh
not just
yeah.
because it's
Oh yeah.
top 10 matchup, but it's got some you know a little bit to it after last year. Um, I think fighting for that spot, man, and I haven't gave Texas a nudge all year since you know earlier in the year. I'm going to give them an opportunity here and take a prediction with them and say that they find a way to win this game in Athens and in a close
Nice.
one and upset Georgia. I guess you could call it an upset. I mean, and I know it's
Yeah.
number 10 and
Yeah.
number 5, but it feels like an upset.
Right.
Um, and I think Arch Manning gets one of his biggest wins so far in college football.
Very
I
nice.
may eat my words on it, but that's going to be. I decided when we were talking about all this, I was like, that's going to be my kind of upset prediction this week, and
Heck yeah,
yeah,
man.
so I'm going to take Texas, man.
Hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm here for it, dude. I like to hear it. I like to see it. Yeah, freaking awesome, man. It's gonna be a wild one, dude. I can't wait to watch that one. It's gonna be pure. It's gonna be pure cinema, as you hear us say a lot on this one.
I look I look forward to some of these games like the Texas, Georgia, the Bama,
Yep.
Oklahoma. I look forward obviously to those more than I do Tennessee and New Mexico State this weekend.
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna watch that, pay attention to Tennessee and see, but I'm watching that game for more technical things for as a fan looking forward, but these games are some big games, man. I love watching big football games, and even when Tennessee's out of it, I want to watch these big time, playoff type games. And I
Yep.
think we're getting several of them this weekend. It's going to be a good weekend of college football. Um, Kind of getting into something we do every week before the weekend.
Mhm.
In the previews, we like to give our top five SEC teams. I'll go ahead and start this one, Adam, if that's cool with you. And the reason I am, man, I'm not going to lie, mine didn't change. We've got, but I'll say it for someone that hasn't heard this or got to watch this yet. Might be your first time watching, one of our podcast episodes. So I'm going to go ahead and still let you know what my top five SEC teams are, and that's number one, Texas A&M, number two, Alabama, number three, Georgia, number four, Ole Miss, and number five, Texas. And that's my top five SEC teams going into this week. Chance for some of this to really shake up though, with some of them
Oh
top
yeah.
five teams having some big games. So,
Yeah.
and Adam, if you want to go ahead with your top five, man.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to know my top five, just rewind Michael's take just now because that's my top five as well. We agreed last week, and we're agreeing again this week because nothing's really changed. But
Yeah,
like you said, I mean, there's big time chances for everything to kind of get shifted around this week. Even if teams don't get completely knocked out of it, there's chances for teams to kind of move up the ladder or down the ladder or
yeah,
whatever. So there was one thing I wanted to bring up, Mike, if you don't mind, before we get
yeah.
out of here. And all this talks of the playoff coming up. I think moving forward, we're going to use the playoff ranking as opposed to the AP ranking. And I thought it would be kind of fun to kind of touch on this real quick. Just kind of give us something to build off of in later episodes. And that's the 12 team playoff bracket and what it looks like as it stands right now. So if the playoffs were to start tomorrow, this would be how the playoffs would kind of look. And it's really interesting because you've got those on campus first round matchups that are incredible. I mean, a college football playoff game at a college campus. I think I'm just a firm believer that all college football games should be played only on college campuses. I'm not a big fan of playing in the NFL stadiums. I'm not a big fan of. I'm really not a big fan of even watching them go across the pond there and over into Ireland or any other country. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
not the biggest fan of that. There's some when you do stuff like that, I feel like it just takes a little bit of the magic and a little bit of the pageantry and the tradition out of the game instantly. It feels
If it was
when they do,
NFL, sure.
yeah, it feels NFL-ish. It feels exhibitionish. It just doesn't feel like college football when they do that. But that's neither here nor there. So if the playoffs started tomorrow, you're looking at four teams that would get a first round bye. Now, remember, it's not the conference champions that get a first round bye this year. It is literally the top four seeded teams in the college football
Mhm.
rankings. So that's cool. And a lot of people say that's how it should have been, regardless, last year when they first introduced this thing. But of course, your number one through four seeds would be Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, and Alabama. At this moment in time, would go ahead and get that first round bye. Your first round matchups. This is where things get really cool, really interesting. I love looking at this stuff and talking about it. So you would have one, two, three, four games And your first game would be number 9 Oregon on the road at number 8 Texas Tech. And the winner of that game would end up playing Ohio State. But regardless, that would be your first round. That would be one of your first round matchups. Your second first round matchup would be number 12 Memphis at number 5 Georgia. that that probably wouldn't bid too well for the Memphis Tigers, if you want to know my honest opinion.
I don't think so.
And then the winner of that game would go on to play Alabama. Um, the next one would be number 11 Virginia on the road at number 6 Ole Miss. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, who knows? The winner of that one would play number 3 Texas A&M. And then this one would probably be an interesting game, just because of the success that both teams have kind of had this season. Number 10 Notre Dame on the road against number 7 BYU, and that team would go on. The winner of that game would go on to play number 2 Indiana. So that just kind of gives you an idea of, if you're not familiar with how the playoffs work, that gives you an idea of how they work, and that gives you an idea of where things stand currently right now. So I thought that was just cool to bring up and share with everyone.
Yeah, man, it's cool to start thinking about it because it's getting
Yep.
close, and it's crazy to think we're getting towards the end of a season here.
Hmm.
But we really are, man. We got 3 more weeks of the regular season, and then you're right there in the full blown playoff talk. So it's definitely time to start thinking about it. Start kind of making some guesses. That's obviously gonna change. I feel like a lot over the next 3 weeks, but
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
but at the same time, it gives you an idea of where teams stand right now too. So what kind of matchups you end up with. And yeah, I do like that top four getting the bye because they earn it. I feel like that's how it should be. Kind of fix that a little bit. That way you don't have like just your conference, champs that might not even deserve a bye. For instance, this year just happened to be the ACC, who's competitive. By the way, it's a competitive conference, but they don't have anybody that's even in the top 12 rankings right now. So to say they win a conference championship and get a bye, in my opinion, I don't think that you know that's very fair. And what you want to see. I mean, I know you win a conference championship, but I think you want to see the four best get their
Yep.
bye. And the four best doesn't always mean it's going to be one from each conference or one from each, you know,
Yep.
um, power conference and stuff. So I like the way that's going to pan out. But yeah, definitely getting excited for it, man. And I wish I could be a little more excited and say Tennessee'd be right there in the race, but a
Yeah.
3% chance and those type of odds aren't looking too well. So we'll just have to move on. And hey, if it
Yeah.
happens, it'll be like winning the lottery, and be really excited about it, I guess. But as
Ah,
far as that goes,
with odds like that, dude, I'd rather win the lottery, brother.
absolutely, absolutely, I'll take my chances in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. As far as anybody out there watching, make sure, as always, I haven't said it yet, but make sure to like and subscribe, and get ready to amp up for some playoff talk as
Oh
well.
yeah.
So we know that you all like those topics on some of the big teams and some of the playoffs. So we see that, I know not
Hmm.
everybody out there is Tennessee fans, so we try to, we talk about college football. I've heard that too as a Tennessee fan. Like, I've seen some comments. It's why don't you just stick talking about Tennessee or why worry about your own team? But it is a college football podcast. We're probably going to
Right.
talk about college football teams. Um,
Yes,
so
exactly.
um, definitely going to be amping that up a little bit. Adam, you got anything left you'd like to say, man?
One thing I do want to add is, Mike just mentioned, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you already haven't. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, spread the word. We are currently at 88 subscribers, and I think we had a personal podcast goal of having at least 100 subscribers by the end of the season.
Yeah,
Um, by the end of just college football this season in general, playoffs, championship game, everything. And I think that's obtainable if everyone just kind of starts sharing the
yeah,
pod with, on your social media accounts, support the channel, like, subscribe, like we said. But yeah, we're trying to get to 100 subscribers. and that would just be a big milestone for us. Obviously, there's bigger podcasts out there that have hundreds and thousands and even millions of followers, but you got to start somewhere. And this is where we are right now with 88 subscribers, and we couldn't thank you all enough for following the channel, man.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad you mentioned that because we're getting close, and
Yep, we are.
definitely, like I said, that'd be a great record for us to hit this year.
Hmm.
But yeah, man. Looking forward to this weekend. Gonna be a good weekend of football, I believe. And as always, Adam, it's been fun, man. And I'll see you later, dude.
All right, brother. Take care, man.